You know Ben Prentice?
Yeah.
So Ben's made an accusation against me. He says I'm getting a little bit shitcoiny. He said I am because I've had Monero. I've mentioned Monero on the show twice recently, and I've mentioned it in scenarios. I said I can think of a certain couple of scenarios whereby I think I could justify using Monero instead of Bitcoin because I find Bitcoin privacy too hard. I know I'll screw it up, and I know with Monero I've got less chance of screwing it up. But what I'm not aware of is the trade-offs I'm making if I make that decision. And every time Monero gets mentioned on the show, like I'm always conscious of the responsibility of the show. When it gets mentioned and it comes up, what happens is a bunch of Monero people share the show out and they say, thank you for talking about Monero. And I don't want to promote something if I think there's some trade-offs I'm not thinking about. Now, I think there's a different trade-off as a transaction versus hodling. I'm pretty sure you could easily explain to me, oh, I shouldn't hodl Monero. But as a transactional level, if I was just buy some Monero, make this transaction, and then not own any, I think there's a different trade-off. But Ben wants me to ask you about this because he thinks I'm a shitcoiner.
Well, thank you for asking because this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Okay.
And we did talk about it a little bit in like, crushing the hopes and dreams of shitcoiners or
shitcoin backholders.
Yeah. So here's my argument against why you shouldn't be using Monero as a transactional currency. First of all, the anonymity set in Monero is kind of tiny, right? Like the transactions are actually fairly large. So within a particular transaction block, you can't include that many transactions because you have these like zero knowledge proofs. Which are thousands of bytes and stuff like that. So that's been a thing in Monero for a while is, okay, you kind of have an idea who's doing what because there aren't that many transactions and you can sort of like by process of elimination get some info out of it. And you're only as good as the anonymity set you're hiding behind. It's not that big. It really isn't. The other thing is that Bitcoin has some really nice privacy properties, especially on the Lightning Network. So if you're able to pay for something using Lightning, you actually get really nice privacy properties. If you pay somebody that's far away from you on the network, and there are now routing algorithms that optimize for privacy rather than fees, right? Like so you have fees on the Lightning Network. You can optimize on privacy as well, and it's going to be up to some of these wallets to implement that in certain cases. But you have very good privacy. If it's going through like 4 hops or something like that, nobody after the first hop really knows where it comes from.
Chain analysis can't do any work.
No, because it's not on chain. Okay. It's all unless you're like listening and like intercepting all of these messages and put them all in a database and analyze them or something like that. There's no way for you to know.
But chain analysis, chain analysis, is it chain analysis?
Chain analysis.
Chain analysis almost certainly, I would guess, within their company, have a Lightning division, and they're going, how do we figure this out so we can sell this data to governments?
Oh, well, and you don't think they're doing that for Monero or Zcash?
Oh, no, that's fine. But we're talking about the good privacy options in Lightning. Is there some way of building that database? Would there be some way of doing it?
I mean, there's always like a way to do that in any of these, including Monero, Zcash, or whatever, Grin, or whatever your favorite privacy coin might be. There's always ways to do that, and the one that they're going to concentrate on is the one that gets used the most. It doesn't mean that they necessarily know all that much. And in order to do it, it's way more costly. Right now, if you want to do on-chain analysis, you just download the blockchain, run some heuristics on it. You maybe have some data from external sources. You include that in order to figure out where it's pathing. But with Lightning, it's significantly more costly for them. And that's kind of what you want to do from a privacy perspective is the more costly it is for somebody to analyze, the better it is for you because that's an economic calculation that's going to now come into play. If you make it very costly for them to figure out who you are, they're just not going to do it. So you had that with you're right. They're probably run a bunch of Lightning nodes and they're trying to intercept and figure things out or whatever. but you still have some pretty good privacy. And and at a certain level, if you pay, I don't know, Pornhub or something like that, and you don't want anyone to know.
Why is that your example?
Well, it's because they only take Bitcoin, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
You're the expert.
Well, I wrote an article about it in my newsletter, or I mentioned it because there was a paper written by some guy saying, okay, what's Pornhub's value to Bitcoin been because they stopped taking Visa, MasterCard. And so, now all these transactions are in Bitcoin so I have reason, not because I'm a fan of theirs or whatever, but that's something that you might want to be private.
You have a very valid reason to go investigate this.
Yeah. So if you're going from A to B, right, and you have enough hops in between, that's going to be a fairly private thing. Like very few people are going to be able to figure it out. And in addition, if you want to even do like an on-chain transaction, you can do something called submarine swaps, which I think are woefully underused at this point. But you can do that.
It sounds like the kind of thing that someone will be like, huh? What? Yeah.
So a submarine swap is a way to do like Lightning transactions on-chain or on-chain transactions on Lightning. So
is that Alex Bosworth did this?
Yeah. So and it's got some really nice privacy properties because there's no easy way to link the two of them. And you need to do a lot of observation. Again, you're upping the cost of somebody being able to sort of break that privacy, essentially. And that's really all you ever really want to do with respect to privacy. All privacy can be broken with enough data and enough listening or whatever. You want to make it so expensive that they're not incentivized to go and do all of those things. So, with submarine swaps, you can pay on Lightning and get a UTXO back that's unrelated to any UTXO that you inserted into the Lightning network. And you could do the reverse. You can pay in Lightning, and then the person on the other end uses a UTXO to pay your favorite vendor or something like that. That's really nice because there's no linkage between the two, and only the person that's providing it for you has that. So unless they're compromised with chain analysis or something like that, then you get a lot of these privacy properties. So you have so many options within the Lightning network where you really don't with Monero. You have this one particular zero knowledge proof with 5 different UTXOs that are chosen in a fairly deterministic way with some randomness embedded in it. And in general, like you get some amount of privacy in Monero with zero knowledge proofs, but it's not like it's impossible to break. There are several papers that talk about how there's only 5 possibilities. You can eliminate them one by one, and you're down to 3. That's a lot easier to analyze. It's not a very big anonymity set. With Lightning, it's however large the network is. It could have come from almost anywhere, and that's very useful to hide behind, and you get a lot of privacy properties that way.
Should they not just increase the size of the anonymity set, though?
The
Monero?
Yeah. Then you start running into chain bloat and stuff like that. Their
So
chain
it's fatally flawed?
Well, the thing is, like, the larger the anonymity set, you have to define it in your transaction. So if you have 5 transactions that you're doing it from, then that's 5 UTXOs that you have to reference. Or actually, Monero doesn't have UTXOs; it's all TXOs, and the chain keeps bloating, and you have no idea if anything's spent or not because that's the design. That's how you get privacy. So, I mean, if you increase from 5 to 20 or something like that, now your transactions are that much bigger and your proofs are that much bigger. And you have all, these ring signatures and stuff like that, which are bigger. And that means you can fit less of them on chain. That means you have an increase in anonymity here, but you have decrease in anonymity here, because within a block, you can be like, okay, I can figure out what time roughly that person did a transaction. I just need to look at that block, and it's probably one of these. And there's so many ways in which there are trade-offs within Monero that aren't really solved that well. So Yeah, I mean, I know all the Monero fanboys are probably going to come after me or whatever, but I'm telling you, it's not a very large anonymity set versus what you're going to be able to get in Lightning, which has literally thousands and thousands and thousands of nodes and growing all the time. And especially for like the small transactions where you're going to want that anonymity. Lightning is almost ideal because it leaves no blockchain footprint, which Monero does by default, and it has to in order for its property to work. I think Lightning is actually good, and I don't think and as it grows, I think that the privacy aspect of Lightning is going to be.
Does it get exponentially better as it grows?
Well, you have a larger anonymity set that you can hide behind. So if you have, 10,000 nodes, right, then you're hiding in that group. And if you have 100,000 nodes, then you're hiding in that group. So it's like 10 times the anonymity set. That means 10 times the cost to figure out which one it is.
But is it exponential, the growth that comes with it?
I don't know if it's exponential. I think it's linear, if I'm not mistaken. But just in any anonymity set, it's proportional to the number of possibilities there are. In Monero, it's really not that much. Is my point. Whereas on Lightning, it's significantly more.